Hill says, "Hey, Jack," it gets my attention every time. I have to tell you that. That's a highlight of some Sunday nights, actually.
I would like to submit, shame on you, Lep. Because now that I'm in these mixed picks of yours,
Yes.
I'm watching football, and that's not conducive to a good night's sleep on a Sunday night when it's an 8 o'clock Lions game.
Well, you know, it's adding a little zest into your life.
Yeah.
I was going to ask Mr. Beagle, since he is now doing well in these picks, throwing the dart at the board and with his blindfold on.
I think there's a conspiracy going on here. I think he is playing the dummy.
No, man,
playing it well,
I've got no theory. See,
I was going to ask him if he knew the Big Ten standings, since he's a football expert now.
I'm just a picking expert, man. I told Mickey Lep the other day, I said, look, just because I pick like a genius doesn't mean I want to discuss football ever.
Well, we want to discuss football with our next guest, and this is Blue Cross Blue Shield Vice President Ken Dallafior. And I bring up the Big Ten standings because no one would have guessed before the season, with Michigan State, Michigan, and Nebraska expected to battle for the Big Ten Legends Division title, that after 3 weeks of the season, the teams that are undefeated on that side of the bracket are Northwestern and Ken Dallafior's Minnesota Golden Gophers. Hi, Ken. How are you?
I'm good this morning, and I would just tell you there's a lot of football season left.
You're not packing for Pasadena just yet, right?
Not quite, no.
Well, I think a lot of people were watching the game last night because the 49ers are a team that expected to contend for the Super Bowl. The Lions, an up-and-coming team. But there was also some intrigue based on the way last year's game ended with the handshake backslap, chasing each other into the tunnel with Jim Harbaugh and Jim Schwartz. And they were very amiable last night. They talked before the game, looked like they were joking a little bit. They exchanged the smiles, and after the game, no problems whatsoever. So maybe much ado about nothing.
Well, I still think there's a rivalry between the two. I still don't think they're the best of friends, or they're not going to sit down and have dinner and drinks together anytime soon. But I will tell that they behave like professionals, and they were coached to do so, I'm pretty sure. And it's good for the game. It makes it interesting, and they handled it well, I thought.
The Lions competitive last night, but never able to get over the top. Really, it was very clear that the 49ers were in control of the game. Lions getting a late touchdown from Matthew Stafford after the 4 field goals from Jason Hansen. But what are the lessons learned in a loss like this, Ken?
Well, one thing I think that I think the 49ers are a great team. I think they have a great defense. The game plan was to be patient, wait for them to adjust. They did stay with the game plan, but they never really got to the point where the things that they thought would open up would. But the lessons taken away to your question, Jack, are, there's still a long way to go. They had to play with consistency. They made mistakes at certain times. I think Coach Short said it best after the game. There wasn't a part of the game that they couldn't have played better, but a lot of times good teams like the 49ers make you look bad in some of the aspects of your game.
And I think it's easy to draw conclusions and say, well, the Lions aren't up to speed. But this was a game in Candlestick Park, and the 49ers had just gone into Green Bay and won by the same margin. So this is a very good football team. To me, the 49ers look like the kind of team that plays in Super Bowls. Tremendous defense, able to make big enough plays. They can run the football. And Alex Smith, talk about the development of a quarterback. I just thought he was gutsy. You could see at the end of the game when he took that shot to the nose. He looks like a guy who's finally starting to get it.
Well, I think that's true, and I think Harbaugh has helped him tremendously. Yeah. And you think last year, too, they had the strike-shortened training camp, and they didn't really get to work together in the preseason. They've had a whole year now, and I think it's starting to show in Alex Smith's play and the offensive. They're hitting on all cylinders, the 49ers are. You're right, they're going to be somebody to contend with, and Lions are going to have to figure out how to beat them if they want to get a run in the playoffs this year if they qualify.
49ers don't seem to be a flashy team, Ken, but just the kind of team that grinds it out and wears you down. Alex Smith now able to make the third down plays when they tried to run him out of town a couple years ago. Former #1 draft choice from Utah, and was actually John L. Smith's nephew. A lot of people don't know that, but he's #1 overall pick, and he's finally starting to play like the kind of guy who could wind up with a Super Bowl ring.
Hey, didn't you just sense, though, that there was a little bit of the ghost of Bo Schembechler in that team? So it's not a flashy pro team, but yet they get it done in a lot of ways. And it was just it's fun to see a team like that that's well seasoned in the disciplines and the foundations of football. And like I said, they're going to be somebody to beat, and they're probably odds-on favorite at this point in the season to win the Super Bowl.
I noticed that the same play I remember so well last year at Ford Field, killing the Lions, worked again. It didn't seem like the Lions had figured out how to handle a trap block.
No, they trapped the tackles every way they could with tight end, with the slot, they brought the guard, and you know, when you start getting a penetrating type defense, the way Gunther Cunningham's defense is designed, you get penetration, you get on different levels, and it opens up vertical running lanes like it does, and it did against the Lions.
Well, after a game like last night's that so much anticipation for, talk about traps, now there's a possibility of a trap with the Lions going to Tennessee. Of course, that's where Jim Schwartz coached for so many years, and we'll look forward to that game coming up next week, and Michael Patrick will be back. He'll be talking to you about that on Friday, Ken.
Well, thanks for having me on, Jack. Have a great day.
All right, that's Ken Dallafior, Vice President, Blue Cross Blue Shield, former Minnesota Gophers and NFL lineman. And we'll be right back with more on Michigan's Big Show.